All right, we are live and just got back from Montreal. We are ready to move to network school. I'm just checking out all the events over here right now. So let's look into this. They got, yeah, I was just looking at this. So these are the kind of things they are doing at network school. And this is the maps. Okay. So this is where the events are happening. Interesting. Psychology, cafe cursor. So this is also interesting. Like once now that network school has built this hub of talent and hub where Balaji's living over there or Balaji's there, he has the connections, he has all the people that, yeah, he knows pretty much everyone. Now he's able to attract all these people to network school, and what is happening is that not only you are there with interesting people, but the interesting people around the world, through by coming to network school, they can experience something interesting, and you, by living over there, by being a member, you get exposed to people, and people are coming to you rather than you trying to chase something. And the interesting idea again is the idea of reducing the cost structures. I'm really fascinated by this idea that the fact that now you have reduced the cost structures with $1,500, they are trying to offer you everything. That is amazing because now you can just that gives you a lot of breathing room. When you reduce your cost structure, you get a lot of breathing room that you can now, you are not really anxious about money, and the fact that you are now surrounded by other people and this is a system. So two things are happening at the same time. Number one, you in a city, in a normal city, in a modern city, you feel isolated. You feel isolated. You don't feel like you have a community. You don't feel like you're working on the frontier. You feel like everything is really slow and not a lot of exciting things are happening. Things are too far. There are people always stuck in traffic and cars, all that kind of stuff. Over here now, not only you have reduced your cost structures, but also there are more and more opportunities to make money. There are so many interesting ways how people are making money. Everybody is working, trying to work together, and you are living in, again, in a dorm room kind of setup, where you're living in a dorm room kind of setup where all your friends, all the most interesting people that you want to hang out with, are not only constantly coming to this one hub where you're living at, but there are no cars. Everybody's like, not, people are not wasting time doing unnecessary needs. Your groceries are taken care of, your laundry is taken care of, you have your office, your gym, everything, and you're constantly around this community of interesting people. And people are in that mindset that, hey, these are the people that who I would want to work with. So let's constantly create opportunities to collaborate and work together and participate together. And I think that makes this very fascinating, because something like this would be happening with the biggest companies. What do the billionaires do? The billionaires, what they are doing is they have a private chef, they have a chauffeur, and all that kind of stuff, so they can focus on what they are really good at. So because they can really afford that, they can change the system. But as you go lower and lower into the levels, as you go lower and lower in the strata of the society, you are focused on so many basic needs all the time that you don't even have the moment to think about that. Okay, what do you want to do more? What are the things that you're interested in? You don't have opportunity and time to think about those things. And the modern apps have basically, like Uber, what has Uber done? Uber has looked at, okay, what do the billionaires have? Let me democratize it. So similarly, now what Network School is doing is Network School is taking the entire lifestyle of a billionaire and democratizing it. That what is the lifestyle of a billionaire? A billionaire lifestyle is that all the basic mundane things are taken care of. So you have the time to spend how you want, with the people who you want, doing the things that you want, and you are constantly in this flow of opportunities. And I think that is incredible. That is incredible. And there's this idea, like, I'm really excited. I think this is something that we have been looking into over here, with trying to do something that, trying to really think about that, okay, what am I curious about, and keep going into the things that we are interested in. And similarly, interesting, I forgot, I had a thought which I totally forgot. But okay, these are the kind of events that are happening, like Cafe Cursor Singapore. So Cursor is coming to you If you are alone, it's again, I think that I was reading about the selfish gene. I came across the selfish gene book in Montreal, and that was actually pretty cool because selfish gene again is all about that. Okay, I'm not, an animal is not following a pack of other animals because it is kind or it wants to take care of them. It is being selfish. It is being selfish because it knows that alone, isolated in the jungle, it will be killed easily. But when it's running as a pack, it has more chances to live, to survive, and by sacrificing just a little bit, it is getting a lot of benefit out of it. So this idea of moving in a group is could look could look like you are not selfish, but there is a selfish need to it. Like, because if you all are thinking in the right way, if you're not just like trying to piggyback off each other, if you're really trying to look at yourself as a contributor, then everybody is benefiting from everyone else's contribution. And you are like, that's a really good way of being selfish, where you are contributing to others because you are selfish, that by helping others and them helping you, you will be able to do better things. And that's the good kind of selfish. But yeah, basically how you say that is that's win-win situation. Practical psychology, you versus manipulation, meditation, morning pages, why coordination is missing. I'm excited. I'm excited. I think the crypto era was amazing, and the crypto era was amazing, where you're constantly around interesting people. But again, when you're constantly traveling, you're kind of missing something. And this is the right, again, this is kind of a master's program. When I think about it, I think I also was thinking about this is kind of a master's program. How there are a lot of people, they graduate from university, they go out in the real world, they start working corporate jobs, and then there's a time when around like 26, 27, 28, that at that age, they are like, okay, let me now go for masters, because on a campus, I'll be able to kind of like, now that I have made some money, I've kind of figured out how the corporate world works. Now I really want to work on things that I want to work on, and I also want to date. So this is the perfect time to, on a campus, you are in vicinity of other smart human beings, so you can really figure out that who you want to date and stuff like that. You are in a place where the cost structures are low, you are constantly around people, constantly around friends, you are constantly around, you are in a hub that attracts opportunities and events, and that is where you want to spend time. That's where you want to spend time at. And I think this is very interesting. Like, when I think about this, I'm like, okay, this is very similar to just a master's program, how you would do that. That, okay, now on something new, I want to be in a node. I want to make a smart decision about picking a node where I will attract opportunities. And universities are no longer those places. Universities are no longer the places which are the nodes, because you are spending so much money. You don't know exactly where you're going. You are spending so much money, and you're totally relied on. Yeah, you cannot control your learning over there, but over here you are able to control your learning. There is so much opportunity, you can pick and choose. I think I really like the idea of this, the gray zone, or the middle way. You are not like in a very structured program where, okay, 4 years we're gonna make you a doctor, you have to do exactly what we say, versus something that is totally free flowing and nobody is aligned. But the middle way is where you're aligned, there's a little bit of structure, you have the flexibility, you have the pathways. I think that is very interesting. They have attracted the Solana network state. I'm not sure what the Solana network state means. Is that part of network school? Is that a separate thing that they are building? I think this is interesting. Like, network school says that they are a startup society that bootstraps startup society. So is that within the same realm of network school, or a separate entity, like a totally separate, like they have to do their own thing where, okay, find an abandoned city, like build relationship with the government and like do everything from ground up? Or are they, I think this makes sense, they are building the foundation of other startup societies, which makes so much sense. Like, they are building the foundational layer. They have the real estate, they have the relationship with the government, they have the special economic zone, and now other people, because they have built out the layer, other people can build on top of them. And also, people constantly want to be working on new exciting things. People constantly want to be working on things that they are excited, constantly working on things that they are pulled towards, which means people will be, they are going to be constantly changing the things they're going to be working on. So I think it also makes sense that network school can just remain the base layer, the base foundational layer, and then people can start building on top of people can start building startup societies on top of it. And then what is also happening is that as people start building startup societies, like let's say we have Solana Network State over here, Solana Network State, the team members move over here, the community members move over here, and then they suddenly find that, oh, Solana is cool, but I think there's this specific area in robotics that I might be more what's the word, I am more curious about. And then they, by being over here, they're exposed to that, and then either they're working on the intersection of crypto and robotics, or they totally pivot to robotics, and then again they can, like, they are another node for another startup society. So I think this beautiful fluid nature of opportunities and movement is gonna happen over here in this special economic zone. So that is very interesting. And I think they are also really careful about the entire, what do we say, the visa program, because yeah, I think number one, what Balaji's Indian, he is looking to create opportunities for Indians, and I think the 30-day free visa travel is something that is very incredible for Indians to be able to come over here, test out the place, and actually spend time, because that is the biggest, what do we say, biggest step function change in comparison to US, in comparison to moving to US, where you're spending a lot of money and you are kind of stuck in a process where you don't really have freedom to do what you truly want to do. I think this freedom is really important. Freedom, opportunity, this mindset that you are going to be in, and being around other people who are in the same mindset, I think that is going to make a massive difference. I also hope that as time goes on, we, like, network school is able to build more and more beauty and art into the system, because I feel that is kind of missing right now. And this, me from outside, I have no idea what's happening, but I feel that more and more work will be done from an art perspective. Somebody's teaching Chinese. Wow. Begin learning Mandarin Chinese from 0 to 1. Will follow HSK1 curriculum, HSK the standardized Chinese proficiency test for non-native Chinese speakers. Very cool. Very cool. This is happening on March 31st, NS Library. I would love to do that. I would love to do that, because and maybe I'll teach French. Maybe I will teach French. Who's hosting this? Veronica. I'll message Veronica. You can just learn things with AI. I feel invincible. Very interesting. Parallel societies versus network states. What is the logos? Social movement prior by default, tech stack built to revitalize civil society. So what do you do exactly? This is so cool. I'm really excited. I'm really excited for this move. I am gonna be clearing out my entire home. Just a little bit sad. Just a little bit sad. Maybe I'll pick my speaker with me. I really like this Marshall speaker. Maybe I'll take it with me. I want some good music sometimes in my room, or maybe I could just buy over there. I don't know. Pioneering a new era of freedom. Wow. Social movement and decentralized technology stack built to revitalize civil society. Testnet V0.1 is available for experimentation. Testnet V0.1 is live for experimentation. Marks the first time the logos, modules, consensus, execution, networking, storage, and messaging are packaged together into a unified modular stack. Total contributions, active contributors, repositories, circles, builder hub. Everything you need to start building Basecamp. No longer working for us, so we are charting a new course. Intersection of human exploration and technological revolution. So what is this exactly? We refuse to accept the world as it is. We are part of a generation fed up with corruption, surveillance, and stagnation, often associated with incumbent institutions. We're taking power back into our own hands. Our mission is to restore agency, trust, and civic power by giving people the tools to explore and innovate using decentralized technology. Newer decentralized applications, social institutions, peer-to-peer communication that resists surveillance and censorship, fully decentralized apps and file sharing. Okay. Capture and brittle, we build alternatives to give people a choice, build on logos and serve your community governance, corruption resistant public registries, private financial networks, decentralized archives, secure communications. Whoa, Parallel Society is a 2-day event in Lisbon where music, art, and technology converge. Whoa, whoa, whoa. I didn't know they were doing concerts out here. Beautiful. Parallel Society, countercultural convergence. Yeah, I think Lisbon is the place to do something like this. Incredible. Maria, Lisbon. When is it happening? What are the dates? 6 to 7 March. Oh, it already happened. Purchase ticket. Parallel Society. 3 weeks ago. Event finished. So here are the photos from the event. Wow. Next Gen Gathering, 2-day takeover. Autonomous zone where tech, music, and community converge. What does it take to create a special economic zone with in relationship with the government? Like what can you tell me about what Network School did to create a special economic zone with Malaysian and Singaporean government? Humanity First, not-for-profit, co-curated, collectively organized. Tickets, artist list. Whoa. Oh, speakers. Dr. Okay, so it's like a... Interesting. We have like proper conference speakers, but they made them look like DJs. Brewster, Cameron Clark. Oh, Danish Aurora. I know Danish. This is cool. I don't know where Danish, what Danish does now. Red Team, Engineer logos. Okay, so Danish works at logos now. Dave Stan. Ernesto Huerta, Fatima, Francesco, Frank Royer, Guy Louis, Hakeem Anwar, Igor Chabrin. Okay, so I know one guy. Michael Holscher, Prince Liam of Sealand, Pavel, Renata Vila Pinto. Submissions for lighting talks, rapid fire space for ideas, early prototypes, micro lectures, and pitches. Share sharp insights, early research, new project ideas, unfinished shoots, political provocations, artistic statements, or cultural riffs. Artist Anna Batu, Calibre, Clark, Collective Unconscious. Really cool. Maria, Los, Violet. Very interesting. So what are the companies? Coalition Tech, Common Sense, Edu Delta, Funding the Commons, Haven, Institute of Free Technology, Keycard. Okay, this is very exciting. Like what kind of companies? This kind of like many, I'm guessing if, who is the person, I forgot her name, Veronica. Veronica is involved with Parallel Society in some fashion. This is very interesting. You're now exposed to a totally different world of opportunities. Wow. Okay, logo circle. France, Germany, Ireland, UK, Portugal, Italy. Schedule a call led by people who show up, engineers, artists, organizers, and idealists who want their work to matter, who want to find their purpose. If that's you, let's chat about how you can move the mission forward. Schedule a call. Logos onboarding, brief initial call to help those interested make an impact. Very interesting. Let's see. I'll sign up. Okay. Let's see. We have signed up and we'll chat. We'll chat with the team. We'll chat with the team. Freedom needs builders. Stay ahead. Take action to reclaim agency and find your purpose. Join a local community. Submit your proposal. Schedule a call. Okay. Cool stuff. A convergence milestone. A community arguing in public is a healthy sign of decentralization. Very interesting. Okay. Let's see this one. Creating an SEC is formally a negotiation between private entity, sovereign government. SEC is an area within a country's borders where business and trade laws differ from the rest of the country, with the aim of increasing trade, employment, investment, and effective administration. The specifics vary by country, but the general purpose involves several key elements. Two main models. Designation model: governments unilaterally designate an area as an SEZ, choosing the location, advantages, and regulations. Application: all private companies can apply for zone status with even a significant amount of geographically contiguous land. Most SEZ creation involves demonstrating a credible value proposition to the host government. You need to show that the zone will attract foreign direct investment, create jobs, build infrastructure, generate economic activity that wouldn't otherwise exist. Public and private parties generally share the same core objective of successful development on the zone. Yeah, this is it. Like, Network School has a really high incentive to help every member become successful. That's crazy. Yeah, because they want to show that there's a lot of activity going on over here. Legislative authorization: governments must pass enabling laws or designate the zone under existing SEC frameworks. Physical territory, a governance structure, package of incentives, streamline customs, relax regular regulations, infrastructure commitments, ongoing regulatory compliance. Massive bilateral government initiative. Malaysia, Singapore signed the deal to establish JSSEZ. After multiple delays, model after China's Shenzhen Special Economic Zone. Zone spans more than 3,500 square kilometers, or 4 times the size of Singapore. 4 times the size of Singapore. Wow. Covering 9 zones across 11 sectors, including digital economy, education, energy, and financial services. Sovereign to sovereign agreement a years in the making. What Balaji and his co-founder Donovan did was something more entrepreneurial. They identified an underutilized asset within this emerging economic zone and negotiated access to it. 20 minutes from Singapore and Forest City, Malaysian coast town, where roughly 350 tech and crypto people congregated across 2 cohorts over 6 months. Integrated property development and special financial zone in Iskandar Puteri, Johor, first announced in 2006 as a 20-year investment project, mostly financed by Chinese developer Country Garden under the Belt and Road Initiative. The city struggled to find tenants, a problem that worsened during the COVID-19 pandemic. What is Google Translate doing here? Mysterious school for the network state. Whoa, 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 whoa. English. What is this? Mysterious school for the network state crowd is now in session. Very interesting. What all factors led Balaji to write the book Network State? I think this is incredible. This is incredible. I really respect Balaji just because of this idea that there are so many people who talk about problems on their podcast, and then talking about the problems becomes their business. And then the idea of writing a book on the problem becomes their business. And then going and charging $200,000 for speaking at conferences becomes a business. And they never actually build a solution to the problem. All they do is just talk, because everybody has a podcast now. And that is something that we want to avoid. We want to be around people who are not only talking about the problem, but actually going and solving the problems. Interconnected factors, intellectual foundations. The book's ideas were inspired by the work of economist Albert O. Hirschman, who identified two basic paths to reform: voice, remaking the system from within, and exit, leaving to build something new. I think this is again very interesting. I did something similar for my family group chat, and I was inspired by Balaji's one line, which is the best way to create a system, or I forgot, but it's better to exit the system and create something from ground up than to change the current system. It's better to exit and it's better to create a new system than to change the current system. Yeah. Voice, remaking the system from within, and exit. Balaji leaned heavily toward the exit path. Another key inspiration was the 97 book The Sovereign Individual by William Rees-Mogg and James Dale Davidson, which argued that nation states would crumble in the face of digital innovation. Nation states would crumble in the face of digital innovation. We need network societies, not network states. See, again, they're talking about a problem, but do you have an alternative? I don't know. The Collective Intelligence Project aspires to be the John Locke of the digital age. His book Network State puts forth a new social contract enabled by Web3 technology centered on blockchains. In a sentence, he defines the network state as a startup country. I think this is beautiful. On Farcaster, Dan Romero had a very interesting idea. If anybody had any issues with his direction, he would always say that, okay, you're free to build your own, what's the word? You're free to build your own client. You're free to build your own client. Build on top of Farcaster. I have laid out the foundation. Feel free to build your own client. If you care about some UI stuff and all that things. Two things happen. Yeah, again, same thing. Reform or exit. You either work with the existing founder to change it, to make it better, or if you really care about the problem, you go, exit, and build your own alternative and see if your method actually works. New social contract enabled by Web3 technology centered on blockchains. He defined the network state as a startup country, highly aligned all-in community capacity for collective action that crowdfunds territory around the world and eventually gains diplomatic recognition from pre-existing states. Slapdash, but sincere. Endorsed by a BB of Silicon Valley titans. Readers tempted to ignore it as a fringe polemic do so at their peril. Should you? Whoa. Okay. Okay, rice is cooked. All right. Tempted to ignore it as a fringe polemic do so at their peril. Srinivasan has crystallized a strand of post-libertarian thinking that is shaping much of the technology industry. His inspiration. Nice win book by British authors William Rees-Mogg and James Dale Davidson, entitled "The Sovereign Individual," argues for a world in which nation states crumble in face of digital innovation. Impoverish chaos while the global elite build a real tax-free meritocracy in cyberspace. Updates this classic tech fantasy with a sprinkling of a ruler and ruled feudalism, reviving traditional hierarchies while wrapping itself in the mantle of futurism. The future looks like Evan McKenzie's Privatopias, an archipelago of gated communities whereon private provision ruled by the wealthy few, bleeding public infrastructure dry as collective capacity erodes for the unfortunate many. Exitocracy. Exiting or taking one's business elsewhere. Such an ideology is ripe for a global moment of polarization, paralysis, frustration, fear. Many agree that their current political economic systems are not working for them and have little trust in their ability to affect change within those systems through democratic processes. Awkward vehicle for solving many of our problems, which cut across and within nations like the internet or AI, climate change, and the spread of diseases to be contained and cured. Models necessary experimentation in the form and function of what John Dewey calls new republics, and rightly holds that emerging technology can and should empower such social imagination, such as the development of the printing press, open the door to imagining and realizing the mass democracies of the 19th century. This makes it particularly ironic that Srinivasan's solution is so backwards looking. Open the door to imagining and realizing the mass democracies. Necessary to but requires something to exit to. What we get here is the less Star Trek and more Game of Thrones. He imagines states composed of a tight-knit community committed to a single sharp one commandment, strict dietary rules. Ruled by a founder king and enforced by a blockchain enforced contract to monitor adherence to both. Exitocracy preserves ideological alignment, rendering voice in democracy unnecessary. The assumption is that those unhappy with the dictates of one feudal lord would simply find another. Here, Srinivasan builds on the libertarianism that has characterized past decades of Silicon Valley: deep distrust of the state and an antipathy to regulation, welfare, public goods, social justice, and any supporters of these causes. But he explicitly recognizes the core flaw of this worldview. Collective endeavors require sacrifice for the common good, sacrifices that purely atomize individuals optimizing for their self-interest will not make. The core flaw of this worldview: collective endeavors require sacrifice for the common good, sacrifices that purely atomize individuals optimizing for the self-interest will not make. Neo-reactionary movement funded by his mentor Peter Thiel advocates for the erosion of democracy in favor of American monarchy. Abundant public goods coordination and collective intelligence that can erode our reliance on the rigid administrative bureaucracies that have largely survived little changed from the era of ink and paper. We can look forward to many things in a future where the power of distributed networks are much more central to our collective lives. Crucial problem over time: how to harness networks to reimagine political and social systems and make them fit for the 21st century. Yet its answer looks backward and undermines the very networks it seems to leverage. We don't need to choose between reaction and stasis. A brighter future, truer to the richness of our diversity, shared lives could in fact await, but not through network states. Yeah, during his recent book, The Future of Collaborative Technology Democracy, co-written with Audrey Tang. Action Tank, Think and Action Tank. Divya Siddharth. So what do they do? Steering transformative AI towards better outcomes for everyone. Our projects. It's a pretty good design. Community models. Watch Divya's TED Talk. How AI and democracy can fix each other. Watch later. Leaders in AI. Microsoft's Office of the CTO, the AI and Democracy Lead, and the UK's ASFE Institute, and held positions at the Ethics and AI Institute at Oxford. Harvard Safra Center, graduate from Stanford in BS Computational Design Analysis in 2018. Neuroscientist. Audrey Tang. Aishwarya Vardhan. Making meaning from feelings. Khan's Academy, AI tutor. Design lead at Wikimedia's first ever incident reporting system. Oh, Jay Graber. Jay Graber is founder of Blue Sky. Chief Innovation Officer. Working on ATI AI. Whoa, just today, they launched today? Today we're excited to introduce ATI, currently in early closed beta, first agentic social app on AdProto. Something completely new. Experiment in making building on the protocol more accessible. You describe what you want and makes a customized feed for you. It's totally different kind of social interface than anything that's come before. Visit Vari.ai. Describe what you want, name it, shape it, own it, build an open protocol. Interesting. ATI. Whoa, 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 Vancouver. I'm writing this from the beautiful UBC campus in Vancouver, where Atmosphere Conf 2026 is taking place. It's a gathering of developers, researchers, and entrepreneurs who are passionate about keeping what happened. Oh, it's also happening today. UBC campus or remote. Show me the full name. Okay, so it's all about AT. Building decentralized AI on AdProto. Blue Notes. Day for lunch. From toilets to months, protocol governance, hard decentralization, coffee break. Coffee break at 4 p.m. Okay. Closing remarks. Interesting. Literally here. How much of this is happening simultaneously in parallel by independent teams who mostly know each other through the network they're building on? The protocol and the underlying infrastructure are here, individuals are doing the rest. It doesn't feel like a product roadmap, it feels more like a city filling in. Someone opens a coffee shop, someone else opens a bookstore across the street, and suddenly there's a neighborhood. Tony Schneider, week 2 at Blue Sky. Oh, so he's just joined Blue Sky. Bose frames when a company grows but the office shrinks. Magical streets in San Francisco. Cold Valley, Telegraph Hill, Burnell Heights. Presidio. Cool, cool. Kazumi Hoshino, Lewis Ham. Tammy Winter. We know Tammy Winter. Tammy Winter is at Stripe. Tammy Winter. Okay. Jasmine Sun. I think she's the independent writer. Build your strategic advantage in Southeast Asia. Springboard to one of the world's fastest growing economies. Different trends, PM Wong. Johor, Singapore Special Economic Zone. Is this the forest city? But this is amazing that they are going to be investing a lot over here. Wow. I would like to see a map. So I think this is Forest City. Or this is entire Singapore. I don't know. Hiring industry setup guides. Okay. Let's look into this. His 2013 Y Combinator speech in a talk called Silicon Valley's Ultimate Exit Strategy must have compared the United States to the Microsoft of nations and used Hirschman's concept of exit to argue for the creation of operant society, suggesting that the digital world offered people ways to opt out of existing governance structures. Though it was essentially a full elaboration of ideas he would be developing since that speech. Entrepreneur investor in Silicon Valley to envision governance redefined by the decentralized networks. His time as CTO of Coinbase partner in recent Horowitz gave him deep exposure to blockchain and cryptocurrency. Frustration with existing institutions. What he sees as wrong with the current socio-political order. Perceived incompetence of public institutions to what he views as capricious nature of laws and developing public infrastructure. Blockchain and decentralized protocols provide the infrastructure needed for secure, transparent, and efficient governance outside traditional state structures. Concrete mechanism for the monetary and governance systems a new nation would need. Political and economic systems weren't working for them and had little trust in their ability to effect change through democratic process. As remote work and digital communities became mainstream and people's ties to physical locations loosened, At a more philosophical level, the book taps into what one reviewer called a deep aspiration in the human psyche, the dream of leaving behind existing constraints and beginning anew. Shooting Motion channeled that impulse into a concrete technology enabled blueprint rather than leaving it as an abstract longing. Wow. This is exactly what I just did. This is exactly what we just did, like right over here. It's been 3 months, and there was a deep desire to start anew. What are some philosophers who talk about the same idea? Expand on their idea. Forest City's unusual history made it ripe for this. Forest City is integrated property. The city struggled to find tenants. Problems worsened during COVID-19. Lodging empty with more infrastructure sitting idle. Made a pitch to local stakeholders, bring hundreds of tech entrepreneurs, inject economic activity into a stagnant area, and demonstrate that Forest City could become a viable hub. The bet was to make Forest City an economic zone just outside Singapore. While Dubai has infinite desert to grow, Singapore is highly concentrated, and Forest City could become the productive zone on the other side of the bay. The local government noticed. Lee Deng Han, Johor's executive counselor for investments, told Bloomberg that the school had brought an energy to the area that was missing. Bloomberg reported that Sri Mosul planned to build a permanent campus to house thousands of technologists with additional locations in Miami, Dubai, and Tokyo. Additional locations, wow. The broader aspiration is rooted in Sri Mosul's network state philosophy. Goal of network states is to often secure some recognition from local governments, whether in form of full sovereignty or a special economic zone. His approach is essentially bottom-up. Build a community first, demonstrate economic value, and then negotiate for increasingly formal recognition and autonomy over time. And the goal is for people dissatisfied with their own society to band together and create a movement spawning parallel societies. Special economic zones with alternative education systems, media institutions and currency, as well as wealth-friendly tax laws. Strategically plant itself into the zone's geography, leveraging the existing special financial zone status and duty-free benefits already in place. Bring real economic activity to an area the Malaysian government desperately wanted to revitalize, and use that demonstrated value as a foundation for deeper engagement with local authorities over time. It's a case study in how a private community can align its interests with the government's development goals to gain a foothold. Very interesting, very interesting. Tell me more about Balaji's vision for additional locations in Miami, Dubai, and Tokyo. This is very interesting. I feel like Balaji partner might just partner with the WeWork guy, and wow, and I forgot his name. Adam Newman. He might just partner with Adam Newman. That, hey, Adam Newman, you are already building Flow. Let's just partner. You become network school. You just become a network school hub. Here's what's known, though I should note upfront that Miami, Dubai, and Tokyo plans remain aspirational rather than concrete at this point. Deliberate 5-stage progression in his early 25 writing. Version 1 was the intentional 90-day proof of concept. Version 2 opened March 1st, 2025. 256 members on a year-long duration. Serving as a seed community for permanent campus. Expansion cities come into play in the later stages. Version 3 involves building a permanent network school campus nearby to house thousands of technologists. Version 4 is where the global ambition kicks in, using prefab construction to create portable templates that can be open source and recreated anywhere in the world. Clones stamping a Hilton or Starbucks all around the world except with the blueprints in the public domain. The goal is a distributed network of network school nodes worldwide. Version 5 is the final stage, where network schoolers attend with the intent of eventually starting their own societies, using the social, digital, and physical templates developed at network school. The choice of Miami, Dubai, and Tokyo isn't random. Each represents a strategic archetype. Dubai is a natural fit because it's already a hub for crypto-friendly regulation, free zones, and a government that actively courts tech entrepreneurs. Government officials have engaged with the network state concept, including Dubai Expo City CTO Rashid Mohammed and Abu Dhabi Global Markets Why Lum Kwok? The way its existing free zone infrastructure means like regulatory pathways more established. Miami makes sense as a US beachhead. It's become a crypto and tech hub in its own right, with a politically friendly regulatory environment and strong Latin American connectivity. Tokyo represents the Asian expansion beyond Southeast Asia, tapping into Japan's tech ecosystem and its own history of special economic zones. Potentially India as an additional future location, the franchise model. What's interesting on Srinivasan's approach is that he's not thinking about these as traditional branches of one school. The strategy is to establish a distributed network of physical hubs for his envisioned network states, more like nodes in a decentralized network than campus of a university system. Nodes in a decentralized network than campuses of a university system. Tesla's Model 3 rollout, Elon Musk created a paid waitlist where 400,000 fans put up $1,000 and waited years for the product. Established provable demand that allowed him to negotiate with vendors. Similarly, the network school waitlist is meant to establish provable demand that funds the land and construction for even more ambitious communities. The next phase also includes a one-year fellowship with 100,000 seed funding for a participant to launch new ventures aligned with the network state vision. What's actually happened so far? It's worth being honest about the gap between vision and execution. As of what's publicly available, the Forest City location is the only operational campus. Permanent construction on additional locations and long-term plans including There's no public evidence yet of signed leases, government negotiations, or construction timelines in any of those three cities. The Forest City appears to be the immediate priority. Come with a flexible mindset. So the honest answer is the Miami, Dubai, Tokyo expansion is part of a clearly articulated long-term vision and roadmap, but it's still in the prove the model in Malaysia first, then replicate phase. The specifics of how these locations would be negotiated with their respective governments haven't been publicly detailed yet. Is there any communication between, any link between Balaji's network school in Forest City and Adam Newman's flow in Miami? Let's see. Two educational institutions in different cities. Wow. It's interesting how Claude is looking at Sanjeev. Let's go. Sanjeev is here. 314. How are you? Can I see this? I'm not sure. All right. Let's see. Great question. Answer has layers. There's no publicly documented direct partnership or formal. Oh, this makes sense. There is a relationship over here. Balaji was working at Andreessen Horowitz. He was an investor over there, and Adam Newman raised 20 billion, 2.5 billion. No, how much money? $1 billion. Flow, no, sorry, 350 million. Not 20 billion, 350. Flow raised 350 million from Andreessen Horowitz. So there is a connection. And obviously, Ben Horowitz is going to be like, hey, Adam Newman, just take inspiration from Balaji. Let me check. Flow, Adam Newman. Where do we work? Where do you live? Is obsessed with one idea. Real estate isn't just physical, it's emotional infrastructure. Tech managed buildings, leases, maintenance, communication streamlined, built in community, event shared spaces, social layer, financial alignment, experiments with giving vendors more upside, equity like benefits, branded living, like living inside a product, not just a building. Real estate isn't just physical, it's emotional infrastructure. Replicate isolation with intentional community, make rent feel less like burning money. Turn buildings into networks of people, not just units. Basically, co-living, luxury apartments, software vibes. I think what they're missing now is lots of opportunities. Are these people also aligned towards building in a certain way? Because that would be really cool. I saw about Flow, and Flow definitely looks and more like life that, hey, how do you live a good life? So people are doing barbecues and all those things together, but it's also important to kind of align them. Hey, so what do you want to work on? What do you, because you're also spending, you cannot be just barbecuing 40 hours a week. Yes, barbecue is like once every week, twice every week. But more than that, you don't want to barbecue that much. What are you going to talk about? So, what is the work? There has to be some sort of alignment that has to be found from a work perspective. Replace isolation with intentional community, make renting feel less like burning money. Turn buildings into networks of people. Raise 350 million for Andreessen Horowitz, their biggest check at the time. Where's the website? I don't see a website. Valued at 1 billion before even launching. Controversial bet on a founder who already crashed one rocket. Owns and operates apartment buildings, Miami, Atlanta, Nashville. Expanding internationally. Saudi Arabia. Wow. Wow. There are people talking about network state startup societies, but he's actually doing it. Builds a platform layer on top of housing management services community. Some description frame it as lifestyle, real estate, financial services stack. Housing is experience. Renters, community members. Buildings, software layers. Access plus participation is wealth. Ownership is wealth. Access plus participation is wealth. I think this is a massive thing. This is a massive thing that people have made real estate into investment as their wealth, and now they will do anything and everything to protect it. And you can't blame the individuals because, yeah, they were born into the system. It's time to upgrade the system. Fancy apartments with better branding. Community angle is hard to scale authentically. We work energy but enough housing. Find me their website. Flow, PropTech, Flow. Flow's official site. Whoa, this is not official site. Sources. Flow.life. Okay, here we are. Community is designed to connect you with yourself, your neighbors, and the natural world. Life and flow. Is this Miami? Brickell, Miami, Florida. What if it all goes right? Brickell, Miami, Florida. World, Miami, Florida. Fort Lauderdale. Flow, humankind, flow on life. Riyadh. Oh, they already have a location in Riyadh. Conscious communities. Experience belonging and oneness in a global community with a commitment to helping good humans connect with good humans. Well-being. When we take care of our mind, body, and soul, we are better for ourselves and those around us. Explore weekly fitness classes and well-being spaces. Hosting events that bring like-minded humans together with shared passions that foster meaningful connection. There's something for everyone. Rooting homes in nature through earth-based materials and custom-crafted, sustainably made furniture inspired by the natural world. Wow. Flow trip. Print celebration of Flow's mission. Stories of life and flow. Quality interviews, photojournals, and more. At Flow House. Subscribe. Flow trip. Spend a night at Flow Hotel. Rent in a Flow community. What if it all goes right? Adam Newman definitely needs that. What if it all goes right? Mission and values. Love, give, commit. Grow, love, give, commit. Contact us. It's like one of those old school websites where it only works in blocks. The fact or state of being unified or whole though comprised of two or more parts, connection with ourselves, our neighbors, and the natural world, it's a big important mission. Interesting. Flow trip. Asian Portal, South Florida. Riyadh. We're all neighbors. Wow. This looks good. Flow Olaya, Flow Nargis, Flow Granada. Princess Nora Bint University. This is one flow. Second flow. Third flow. Interesting. Belong. Well-being. Experiences. Really cool. Really cool. Karina, Brad and Ebony.
He was here at Flow Nargis.
We were actually one of the first residents to move into Flow Nargis almost a year ago now.
And in that time, we've seen Flow develop a lot into an amazing community, which we live in now.
We've had the chance to meet so many of our neighbours, all of the different events that Flow hosts for us inside the community.
One of my favourite events here is the fitness events that Flow put on. We're lucky enough to have taekwondo classes, lifting classes, HIIT classes. It keeps us busy all throughout the week.
And that was actually one of the reasons why we decided to move in here at Flow after looking up all of the different options across Riyadh.
And now we actually support Flow creating some of the content like what you're watching now.
Which is one of the great things about living here, is that the team actually help you pursue your passions and they offer neighbours different opportunities within the community.
As well as this, after attending all of the networking events, we meet so many people across so many different industries.
So our full-time jobs are actually working in the events industry, and at these networking events we've met so many different people, which have actually led to big opportunities.
And one of the main things that actually brought us here to Flow is the amazing amenities that they have on offer.
One of my favourite is the gym in particular. It's full of techno gym equipment.
Techno gym.
You literally have everything you can think of. There's also a bowling alley, a ping pong pool, a co-working space. It's endless.
And that is all included as part of joining this community.
Thank you so much for joining us today, and we hope to see you around the community soon.
Wow.
Palestinian Ukrainian, and I'm currently a resident at Flow Nargis. I am very familiar with the Gulf region as I was living in Doha for the past 20 years. We wanted to explore more opportunities. Saudi is really booming, and my husband had a good career opportunity. So we decided to just take ourselves to Riyadh and explore more of what's happening here. So to be honest with you, finding a place to live in Saudi was not the easiest mission. Saudi is really big, but when we came here, initially we were living in a hotel and trying to search for some apartments, and we had to jump from one apartment to another because we really couldn't settle down. We just couldn't find what really suited us. And one day I was just searching online, and somehow magically Flow pops, just like I found it online. And the second I clicked that website and I entered it, I felt it. I was like, this is what I'm looking for, because Flow is an experience. It's not just a house, it's a home. I found myself as if I'm at home the second I entered that website.
Yes, yes, yes. You're not just looking for a house, you're looking for an experience, a community.
It just, I don't know, just like attracted me so much. So I called my husband. I was like, listen, I found it. You have to go check it now, because like it's just gonna be worth it, and that's it. He just came and told me everything. It's fantastic. It has very nice amenities. Staff is nice. People seem really kind. It looks like a community. So we haven't seen anything like that in Saudi. I was like, yeah, that's it. I saw it, even though I hadn't been at Flow at this point yet. But I just felt it. And that's how we're at Flow. The price that you pay at Flow is absolutely fair in relation to what you get here. On weekends, I like to come out to the lobby because you get to see a lot of the neighbors. Many people come out like in the afternoon or like at noontime to just socialize at Flow. So you grab your coffee or a signature Flow smoothie, and you get to sit on a drink and talk with the neighbors. And then usually I like to work out in the afternoon, so I take myself to the gym. Sometimes hit the pool if I'm ready for it, the sauna as well. Sometimes I take a seat here at the balcony. I love it. By the way, it's my favorite area of Flow. So I would grab coffee or a drink and with one of the neighbors, but that would be more like a one-on-one conversation, you know. With the neighbors, we take a seat here, I take my dog, and we just chill in the evenings. I love it.
This is amazing, but I'm really curious. Like, yeah, I think that person said that they were already in the events industry, and now being at Flow, they found an opportunity that, oh, why not help Flow with all these videos? And that means like, yeah, you are making this thing more and more strong. The community is like more and more embedded with each other. That's amazing. But I'm curious, like, yeah, what other frontier tech stuff are people working on?
I have a small dog. He's usually 85, very cute. And here in the compound, we have a very big front yard, especially for a small dog, you know. So he's really enjoying like himself, going out 3, 4, 5 times a day, and he's just hanging out. And the neighbors love him too, and he loves it. So he's really enjoying his time. He didn't get a chance to do that. And the fact that there are also so many dogs here in the community makes it even more interesting and more exciting for him. So whenever he goes out, he gets to see also other dogs. So he made a best friend as well. Previously in the winter, when we were here, we got to do a lot of outdoor activities. I think my favorite was the Kuwait in the Raya. Wow, stunning. I've never seen something like that. Very beautiful. We were doing, you know, very interesting things, going to path, the DQ. I'm really enjoying myself, and mostly the people here are really, really kind. Whenever I approach anyone for an inquiry or like a question, everyone is so helpful. It really does feel like a community. What I really love here in Riyadh is that I'm exploring so many options when it comes to like, I don't know, buying stuff for the house or like finding experiences or even going out to Riyadh. Moving forward, as I settle down in Riyadh, I'm looking forward to meeting more neighbors and more community members as we're expanding also with Flow Granada. And I'm also very excited to join the experiences that Flow has to offer for the neighbors and the community activities. Thank you for the catch up, and I'll see you back.
It's a way to live. Are the units furnished? You can choose between fully furnished homes, create and Flow's natural aesthetic. Unfurnished spaces to make your own. Annual leases support a steady community rhythm, but if you need flexibility, our leasing team can explore options with you. What is included? Your leasing agent can discuss available options to include electricity and high-speed internet in your contract. Yes, compounds are designed for families, couples, and individuals alike. Can I bring pets? Everything is available. This is Flow Riyadh, and now these are all Riyadh. Okay. Take me to. Oh, this is like specific Flow Riyadh website. Okay, take me to South Florida. Okay. Flow Miami World. Up to 3-month rent free. Oh, what does that mean? Tour Flow World in Miami, Florida. Choose your time. Offering studio to 3-bedroom homes. Okay. Spend a night. Flow Hotel. Own Flow House. Really love the aesthetic. Love the aesthetic. Love the aesthetic. I think this is it, what we need. Rent in a Flow community. Local adventures, the neighborhood, community events, conference rooms, co-working spaces, private offices, housekeeping, Flow grocer, bookable spaces, 1-bedroom starting at 2,963 per month. Yeah, this is it. It's double the price of. Actually, it's the same price as Network Street. Wow, Network's cool. It's the same price. Really interesting. Actually cheaper. Because if you get a studio in Network School, you're paying 3,000. Over here, you're paying 2,223. Really interesting. Wow, they have made it cheaper than Network School. Studio, 1 bed, 2 bed, 3 bed. Wow, wow. And they do a really good job at aesthetic. This is Adam Newman. Adam Newman is really good at aesthetic. He knows how to do it. Amazing work. I also like how short A16Z is with their thesis. Look at this. Everyone's talking about AI, how to replace jobs, disrupt industries, reshape the economy, all software, all automation, all productivity gains, but AI cannot disrupt everything. People still need homes, they need offices, real spaces, places to meet friends. AI can beat humans at chess, write code, diagnose diseases, but cannot replace your need for a real place to live. It cannot build the cities of tomorrow, it cannot create the spaces where communities form. In a world of increasing digital abstraction, physical spaces that unlock human potential matter more than ever. We're doubling down on Flow. When we first partnered with Adam Newman and his team, we saw massive opportunities. Residential real estate was broken, traditional homeownership trapped people in place. Standard rentals offered no community, no feeling of ownership, no pride. Both flexible, connected, and create a sense of belonging. The problems we identified have only gotten worse. Our investment is getting bigger. Flow started with one core idea: deliver an extraordinary experience to residents, and you create extraordinary value for everyone. Doing this meant rebuilding everything. Design, operations, technology, the entire residential experience from scratch. Crush market benchmarks, higher revenue, better profits, brand alike, anything in real estate. Momentum. Owners, operators, investors, residents. Reach beyond the United States, launch operations in Saudi Arabia, raising real estate capital from local investors and banks, acquiring real estate and developing properties, and opening and filling buildings under its own brand and operations with its own technology. Great design, technology, and hospitality transcend borders. It was amazing, like how they had their aesthetic, and then they merged with Miami aesthetic. They had their own aesthetic, and then they merged with Saudi Arabia. Like you can see how Flow Saudi Arabia and Flow Miami, they both look like they're built by Flow, and they also both look like they are based in Miami and Saudi Arabia. That is beautiful. That's exactly what we need. Like, I think Flow should definitely build something in Vancouver because, yeah, you want something to look like Vancouver. Residents aren't just tenants, they are neighbors. Now Flow is raising capital with partners who get it. They are buying and developing real estate made more available by the Flow platform. 3,000 apartments. Create entire neighborhoods built on the flow vision. Wow. Working on finding ways to use blockchain to democratize real estate value, so it doesn't just go to traditional investors. Entirely new asset class. When people own stakes in their communities, they invest where they live financially, emotionally, socially. They build relationships with neighbors. They create the bonds that make places feel like home. This matters enormously in a world pulling us toward isolation and screens. I watched this happen. We invested in flow not with rigid expectations, but with confidence that it would adapt, learn, and execute. That confidence has only grown. The momentum is real. We're just getting started. Physical space by real people working together. AI will be a powerful tool, but cannot replace the human need for community, ownership, and belonging. Very cool. Very cool. What is A16Z's perspective on Adam Newman's Flow versus Balaji Srinivasan's Network School? Yeah. Flow is very much built for families, and Network School is very much built for frontier tech. So it's like, this is like a graduation. You graduate from Network School to Flow. It's not graduation actually. It's like a stage of life. When you are done with the frontier tech, you have found your couple of friends who you want to hang out with. You're like, okay, now let's just only chase beauty, and then you go to Flow. American residential real estate company founded in 2022. Oh, so it's already been 4 years for them. Promoting equity for renters. Made Flow a unicorn before it commenced operations. Local investors to develop and operate apartment complexes in Riyadh. Traditional property management constitutes services and technology solutions for vendors and landlords. Whalebone lifestyle magazine based in Montauk, New York. Following the acquisition, the publication was renamed Flow Trip to align with company's branding. Whalebone. Wow. 30% stake in Canada Global. Canada Global. Public real estate development company in Israel. Why is it called Canada Global and then Israel Canada? Okay. The partnership aims to extend the real estate activities beyond Israel, initially focusing on opportunities in the United States. '24. Conscious community to real estate startup to Saudi Arabia. Wow. Canada Global stake in Saudi partnership. Really cool. Really cool. Really cool. Really cool. Interesting question, because ACC's relationship with these two projects is quite different in nature. One with major financial bet, the other is more of an intellectual affinity. Yeah, these are homes for people who care about beauty, who care about family, and the Network School is more about people who care about frontier tech. Deeply financially committed to Flow. 350 million. And Flow is like more beyond just everything. They are like more focused on solving the housing shortages and stuff like that. They want to reform. Flow is about reform. Network School is about exit. Since double down. Stake from 20 to 25%. Company value 2.5. Personally a fuser. Residential real estate is broken. Traditional homeownership trapped people in place. Standard rentals offer no community or sense of ownership. Outperform market benchmarks. Blockchain democratized real estate beyond traditional investors. Second largest asset class in the world, credited him with bringing community and brand to commercial real estate. Intellectual alignment and alumni pride rather than direct investment. dedicated podcast episode exploring the network state concept. Mark and Reason received the network state book positively. How these two projects reveal differences, facets of A16Z's worldview. Flow is traditional venture bet on a charismatic repeat founder tackling a massive market through technology, design, and community. Rather than conventional real estate economics, Network School is a far more ideological, radical experiment. Srinivasan described it as a place for people who understand that Bitcoin succeeds the Federal Reserve and that AI can deliver better opinions than any Delaware magistrate. Thematic DNA that A16Z cares about: crypto, blockchain, integration, community building, challenging legacy institutions. Squarely behind Flow's commercially scalable model rather than Network School's ideological experiment. Attract the most talented individuals around the world. Core portfolio company worthy of hundreds of millions in capital and board level involvement, while Wave Network School with intellectual sympathy and personal goodwill toward a former partner, but from a comfortable distance. You can see Singapore on the horizon. I can think of many instances at different points of my life where people I know would have found NS particularly enticing, myself included. More things like should exist on a macro level to unlock talent and create outlier outcomes. At the same time, I have reservations that these same outlets that allow individuals to opt out and significantly increase the variance of one's life is necessarily a good thing en masse or a stable long-term equilibrium. While starting well-functioning communities, companies, schools, protocols is extremely difficult, it's so hard to envision a future where NS succeeds in specific facets of its mission. There are numerous pathways that NS can become a hub for, talent in a similar manner that EA sniped college students for a long time. The physical barriers create a much more powerful signal for association beyond the typical Twitter name update. While it's difficult to extrapolate for many generations to assess the viability of NS as the foundational building block on a perpetual state, Sweden lies on a differentiated point on the institutional frontier. New communities require both ideological alignment and significant resources to sustain themselves, while physical co-location creates strong bonds. The historical record for small, ethnically heterogeneous communities remains sparse. Programmatically aligned incentives for these small, spiritually aligned individuals creating lasting communities through shared values alone remain unsolved. Interesting. I think one thing could also be just like the different stages of life that people are in. Like it's attracting both the young kids, really young kids, who just graduate from high school, to people who are in their late 20s who are looking for, real career, let's say. Yeah, because people who just graduated from high school, they are also looking for fun. They look this more as a university experience. For them, this is a university experience. For people in late 20s, they are looking for building their career, building their most important project. Oh my god, I had a question. I forgot. Wow. Okay, I forgot what I was gonna ask. Okay. Wait. Oh yeah, got it. Give me key takeaways of the book, Superabundance. Let's go. I'm also really excited to be around all these books that all these people read and actually talk about them. That would be exciting. The story of population growth, innovation, and human flourishing on an infinitely bountiful planet. Data-driven case that resources are becoming more abundant over time, not scarcer. Time prices measuring how long a person must work to afford a given resource. Nearly everything, food, energy, minerals, consumer goods, has become dramatically cheaper over the past two centuries. Even as population has grown, population growth drives abundance. Contrary to Malthusian fears and prediction from Paul Ehrlich's The Population Bomb, more people means more minds. Generating ideas, innovation, solutions. The authors argue that human ingenuity is the ultimate resource, echoing Julian Simon's famous thesis. I think this is it. Human ingenuity. You want more people, more smart people, and it's like not even smart people. You want more people to develop a certain mindset and then take out the unnecessary duplication of effort so that everybody can focus on their unique gifts. I think that is really important. Yeah. Really cool. More mind generating ideas, innovation, solutions. The authors argue that human ingenuity is the ultimate resource, echoing Julian Simon's famous thesis, the Simon-Ehrlich wager as a framework. The book extends the famous 1980 bet between Julian Simon and Paul Ehrlich over commodity price. Simon won that bet, and Tupy and Pooley, interesting names, show that if the wager were repeated across hundreds of commodities and decades, Simon would have been overwhelmingly. Resources got cheaper in time price terms. Compound growth of knowledge. Innovation isn't additive, it's compounding. Each new idea builds on previous ones. Again, this is it. The compounding effect. The compounding. Each new idea builds on previous ones, meaning the rate of problem solving accelerates as populations and knowledge base grows. Abundance is broad-based. The trend isn't limited to wealthy nations. Global poverty has plummeted, caloric intake has risen, life expectancy has increased, and access to goods and information has expanded worldwide. Warnings against pessimism bias. The authors argue that humans are psychologically wired toward negativity bias and that media and political incentives amplify doom narratives. This causes people to systematically underestimate progress and overestimate threats like overpopulation and resource depletion. The book advocates for open economies, fresh trades, property rights, and institutional frameworks that allow human creativity to flourish, and warns that top-down population control and heavy regulation can stifle the very innovation that produces abundance. Wow. Empirical. More people there are, more ideas are generated, the cheaper and more plentiful resources become, provided societies maintain the freedom for innovation to occur. Freedom for innovation to occur. Yes. Yes. We read this one, the contrast. The contrast was interesting. Factors. And this is again interesting. And what I'm really excited about is that taking my ideas, implementing them as systems in the real world, and then keep improving based on feedback. And that's it. Keep the cycle going. So the most interesting use case of use case of AI is that you have a way to do something in the real world, and then you have created this very quick, very fast, interesting feedback loop, like the entire drug delivery system. So that's the reason why NVIDIA is partnering with Eli Lilly and Tesla is working on self-driving. So what is happening? You have your AI, you have your mind, and then you have a physical body. You have your entire research, research, experimentation, machinery, instrumentation, or you have just a car. That car goes out in the real world, talks to the real world, interacts with the real world, gets a lot of feedback. That feedback is put back into the mind, and then you improve the mind. So this feedback loop has to be created somehow. You cannot be just working on the mind. You have to be, and you cannot be just working on the reality. You have to have a balance of both of them. Mind needs to be upgraded. the reality has to keep changing and keep getting feedback, and then this loop has to keep going on. The loop of mind and body. Wow, mind and body. Has to keep going. You know, figure out what is that thing, because just working just with AI is working just with your mind. You need a way to interact with the body, interact with the reality, with your body. Various recurring themes, longing to wipe the slate clean and rebuild from first principles. Hannah Arendt, natality, and new beginnings. Perhaps the philosopher most directly concerned with this idea. Human condition, she argues that the capacity for new beginnings. Wow. Also, this might be the last few times when we are doing this stream, and I'm gonna miss it. Okay. Natality. I don't know how to say this word. Is a central miracle of human existence. Every person born into the world represents the possibility of something utterly unprecedented. She extends this to politics. Genuine political action is the ability to initiate something that didn't exist before, to interrupt the automatic process of history. For our end, totalitarianism was so terrifying precisely because it tried to destroy this capacity for spontaneous new starts. Initiate something that didn't exist before to interrupt the automatic process of history. Jean-Jacques Rousseau. Return to authenticity. Rousseau's entire body of work is animated by the tension between civilization's corruption and the possibility of renewal. The social contract. Man is born free, and everywhere he is in chains. Man is born free, and everywhere he's in chains. This goes into the quotes app. There has to be a way just to get to my artifact from here. They have a better interface for the mobile version. Ce qui se passe? Qu'est-ce qui se passe? Qu'est-ce qui se passe? Okay. Quote: Man is born free, and everywhere he is in chains. Wow. This is it. This is what we want to remember. Don't be in chains. Don't be in chains. Don't be in chains. Existing institutions are buried something more authentic underneath layers of convention and inequality. In discourse on inequality, he traces how property, hierarchy, and social comparison gradually degraded a more natural human condition. Property, hierarchy. Property, wow. Property ties you. And I think this is the reason why renting is actually pretty good. You rent, you live, you let it change you. Let the experience change you, and then you move, and then you exit. His proposed solution wasn't literally going back to the woods, but rather designing a new social contract from scratch in which people collectively govern themselves through the general will. He deeply influenced revolutionary movements that sought to tear down old orders and start over. John Locke, the right to reconstitute. Two treaties of government laid the groundwork for the idea that political authority is never permanent. If a government violates the trust of its people, they have a natural right to dissolve it and form a new one. His thought experiment of the state of nature, imagining humans before any political structure exists, was itself an exercise in thinking from a blank slate. What would rational free people agree to if they were building a society from nothing? This reasoning directly shaped the American founding, which was arguably the most dramatic real-world experiment in starting fresh in modern history. Yes, America was basically starting fresh. Friedrich Nietzsche, the reevaluation of all values. Most radical extreme, Zarathustra, beyond good and evil. Entire moral framework of Western civilization rooted in what he called slave morality needed to be torn down. His concept of the Übermensch describes someone with the strength to reject inherited values and create entirely new ones from their own will. The famous declaration that God is dead wasn't celebration, but diagnosis. The old foundations have crumbled, and now we face the terrifying freedom of having to build meaning from nothing. The terrifying freedom of having to build meaning from nothing. Henri David Thoreau, withdrawal is renewal. Perhaps the most personal enactment of this impulse. He literally walked into the woods to live deliberately and strip down to its essentials, but it wasn't mere escapism. It was an experiment in discovering what remains when you remove all of the society's accumulated noise. Civil disobedience extends this to politics. When the state acts unjustly, the individual has not just the right but the obligation to withdraw consent. His essay, Civil Disobedience, extends this to politics. When the state acts unjustly, the individual has not just the right but the obligation to withdraw consent. Thoreau is the philosopher of selective exit. You don't need to overthrow the system, just stop participating in the parts that violate your conscience. Conscience, wow. What remains when you remove all of society's accumulated noise? When the state acts unjustly, the individual has not just the right but the obligation to withdraw consent. Thoreau is the philosopher of selective exit. You don't need to overthrow the system, just stop participating in the parts that violate your conscience. John Rawls, The Veil of Ignorance. Theory of Justice offers a more methodical version of this impulse. His famous thought experiment asks, if you could design a society from scratch, but didn't know what position you would occupy in it, rich or poor, talented or not, majority or minority, what rules would you choose? John Rawls, The Veils of Ignorance. Philosophical device for stripping away self-interest and starting from a genuinely impartial foundation. Uh-oh. Wrong press. Wow, it's pretty cool, like how I have been writing down all my reasons for why network school. It would be really cool, like a month later after spending 1 month over there, it would be really cool to go back and be like, okay, so this is what I was thinking. Was I right? Did it work? Did it go as I thought? The Veil of Ignorance is a philosophical device for stripping away self-interest and starting from a genuinely impartial foundation. It's a desire to start fresh, made rigorous and procedural. Epicurus, the garden as alternative society. Centuries before any of these thinkers, Epicurus simply did it. He withdrew from Athenian public life and established the garden, a small intentional community organized around friendship, simplicity, and philosophical inquiry. He welcomed women and enslaved people, which was radical for its time. They didn't argue for reforming Athens. He built a parallel society with different values. In that sense, he may be the earliest prototype of exactly what Srinivasan is proposing, just without the blockchain. Friendship, simplicity, and philosophical inquiry. The thread is connecting. Okay, tell me more. What happened to this establishment, to this community? The thread connecting all of them is conviction that existing arrangements aren't inevitable or sacred, that the human beings have both the capacity and sometimes the responsibility to imagine and build alternatives. Where they differ is in scale. Solitary cabin, resource, entire social order, method, careful reasoning, Nietzsche's explosive destruction. See fresh start as a return to something lost or leap towards something generally unprecedented. I think the idea is, as you lose the belongings, you find yourself, because you had attached so much to the belongings that you never know who you were. This is it. The garden had a remarkably long run, then a slow, multifaceted decline. Obviously, decline is part of it. John Rawls, more methodical version of the impulse. Would design a society from scratch but didn't know what position he would occupy in it. What rules would he choose? The Wheels of Ignorance. Epicurus bought a house with a garden just outside Athens, along the road from the Dipylon Gate to the academy was a deliberately private space. Unlike other great founders of philosophical schools who had chosen public areas for their teaching, Epicurus' philosophy flourished in the privately owned grooves of his garden. The community welcomed people from all walks of life, including slaves and women, who practiced philosophy alongside free men, something essentially unheard of in Athens at the time. Passed on to his followers. His will was careful and specific. He left the house, garden, and some furniture trustees of the school, freed his slaves, and made provision for the family members of his closest disciples. The school continued under a chain of leaders called Scholarchs, beginning with Hermarchus. The community didn't just survive, it spread. Epicureanism became one of the dominant schools of Hellenistic philosophy alongside Stoicism, Platonism, and others, and Epicurean communities were established in places like Antioch, Alexandria, Rhodes, and Herculaneum, still in existence 500 years after its founding. Simple life, fear of death. The ideal is not social. Timocrates, the brother of his closest disciple, Metrodorus, left the school and published tracts criticizing Epicureanism. During the 2nd and 1st centuries BCE, dissident sects broke away from the main Athenian garden and established themselves on Kos and Rhodes. Disputes arose over which texts were genuine, how to interpret contradictory passages, and matters of orthodoxy. War and physical destruction. Mithridatic War and Sulla's brutal reconquest of the city plunged all of the philosophical schools in Athens into crisis. By the time Cicero visited Athens around 51 BCE, the original garden was in ruins, and a Roman nobleman named Memmius had obtained authorization to build on the site, a development that horrified the remaining Epicureans. Garden life, the location of garden today. The slow fade under Christianity died out. Late 3rd century, being opposed by other philosophies, mainly Neoplatonism, that were then in the ascent. Epicurean materialism, denying divine providence, asserting that the soul dies with the body, pursuing pleasure as the highest good, almost perfectly calibrated to offend Christian theology. Some scholars suggest the original garden site was replaced by a Christian church, the Hagios Georgios, following the established pattern of early Christian replacing important pagan places of learning and temples with churches. Despite the physical destruction, Epicurean ideas proved surprisingly durable. The Roman poet Lucretius preserved core Epicurean arguments in his poem De Rerum Natura. A large cache of Epicurean text was also found in the carbonized scrolls of the Villa of Papyri, buried by Vesuvius. Scrolls that scholars are still working to decipher today. Deeper ideas, atomism, the pursuit of tranquility, the primacy of friendship, and skepticism toward political authority wound their way into Enlightenment thought and remain alive in various forms. Community built on friendship and simplicity that lasted over 5 centuries and spawned branches across the Mediterranean, but which ultimately couldn't survive the combined pressures of war, institutional Christianity, and the loss of its physical and intellectual infrastructure. I believe just the fact that it lasted for 5 centuries, that is incredible and fascinating. How one guy came up with a philosophy, exited the existing system, and built something that lasted for 5 centuries. That's incredible work. Extraordinary when you put it that way. 5 centuries longer than most empires last. He did it without an army, without taxation, without coercion of any kind. Durably than what holds most political structures together. And consider what he was working with. No printing press. Ooh, I have an idea. what actually endures. Grand political projects tend to collapse under their own contradictions or get overthrown by the next revolution by a community built around genuine human needs. Friendship, meaning, peace of mind, simple pleasures, traps into something that doesn't go out of style. One person with no institutional power, just a house with a garden and a clear idea about how life should be lived, could set something in motion that outlasted Alexander's empire. Wow, Alexander's empire, exactly. Have gone unrecognized in their homelands or given the opportunity to find distinction. There is a much more unique proposition than what more established institutions like YC today offer. These people will likely be in some fang and just enroll regardless. This isn't to say anything about the cultural homogeneity. We'll likely see with India being a strong, still undertapped, fast faucet of talent with alignment with Western values. That's the most underrated interesting part of finance. It feels like a foray and leading indicator for an alternative Western inspired future with loans. Wow, I think this is big. This is big. Pretty much all Indian talent is burdened by JEE. You must exit the system. For a leading indicator of an alternative Western inspired future, loans from but transcends the limitations of ancient meritocratic systems like the Gaokao and JEE, which, despite earning respect for their respective culture, have shown their constraints. Metric driven, taught on culture that elevates crypto economic ideals of objective attribution with rationalist undertones to creatively maximizing future of offering an alternative to the ever increasing institutional and multicultural debt of the West. YC Thiel Network School, hands-on, less capital. University of Boston, 1517, hands-off and less capital. Very interesting. New science. Around the world to exit the current situation when the underscore teenager from a village in rural India to the flourishing American high school student who feels oppressed by school, all will be welcome to NS. Value alignment and minimal raw intellectual horsepower, furthered by a distinct and differentiated founding location where people can relate to like-minded peers. Indian diaspora. Radical experiment. Indian American tech visionary acquires island near Singapore to build a nation of innovators. Jesse, Donovan, and Based. Testing what creating a new nation will feel like. Oasis for gym rats and startup founders. People who want to create win and help in societies, focused on both individual and collective self-improvement. Remote workers, digital nomads, online creators, human planners, technologists of all stripes. This is a nice photo. It actually looks futuristic. The network school. You know how beautiful island near Singapore where we are building the network school. 90-day pop-up that runs. Why wait for existing governments to change when you can build your own? Purpose driven, designed not to escape society but to rebuild it. Historical nation building, noting that the United States itself began as a radical idea of self-governance. Today's internet native generations deserve similar opportunity, the ability to prototype society in real time with digital tools and decentralized governance. For the young version of myself, the aspiring engineer, it is both a personal mission and a philosophical rebellion against inertia. There's a community I want to live in, techno-capitalist college town. College town, techno-capitalist College Town. That's a good one. Techno capitalist college town. Whoa, what is happening? I can't copy. Anyways, globally affordable and generally meritocratic. Something rare, turn a provocative idea into a living, breathing community, one school, one experiment. I think it's also interesting. It's not that you can say that, okay, the rich people will make their own network school, but that's a problem. Rich people, if they make their own network school, again, they are alienating the smartest people who just don't have money, who just don't have maybe the same taste as you have. So you are actually missing out. So it is actually in the best interest to make something incredibly cheap. So it invites everybody, and everybody can win. Because when the rich people are like, oh, let's make our own thing, you are eliminating some of the most interesting, smartest ideas that come from some of the most diverse experiences. But